Katt Williams spent 3 explosive hours on Shannon Sharpe's Club Shay Shay podcast, taking aim at Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer, Kevin Hart, and even Diddy. He accused them of conspiring to silence Terrence Howard, undermining his career, and burying his talent just to protect their own image. This wasn't a light-hearted roast. It was a raw and unapologetic exposé of Hollywood's darkest games. Let's dive into the most jaw-dropping moments from his unfiltered rant, and more.
Afraid about being blackballed again? These are some power people.
These people are not powerful. Satan can't create anything. That includes blessings for his people. You know what the #1 job of somebody that sold their soul in Hollywood is? Is to act like it didn't happen. They all do the same job. But I'm not scared of being the competition. Yeah, on paper, they're a better team. They have all the assets and resources and we don't. But let us get on the line, boy, and see if that factors in. I guarantee you it won't. All of these shortcut takers. They canceled me for talking about Harvey Weinstein before the thing came out, but he offered to suck my penis in front of all my people at my agency. I told him no, what y'all do? And this is why when I walk in a room, heads go down. Behind my back, I'm nothing. I'm just a regular old comedian, but in my
really there to entertain you. Like, that's great that happens, but propaganda is something that is important to all civilization.
Well, propaganda in Hollywood movies is built into the ingredients list. It's like if you want flour.
One person that ever wore a dress in Hollywood unsuccessfully. So 20 years ago, I knew that transgenders was going to be a thing. The earliest I had seen that word transgender was Baphomet, the transgender. In the ritual of Baphomet, the transgender, to show allegiance to him, you had to kiss his ass ring.
Really?
And it said both of those things. So I knew that both of those things would become popular in the future.
I've lost businesses because I don't bend over in that way. I don't compromise. I don't play gay roles. I don't kiss a man. I don't do that shit because the man card means everything.
Are you done with Hollywood because of this specific reason?
I'm still working. I still, I haven't made the money necessary to do all of the other stuff. So I still have to go and do the chitlin circuit. I still have to do the job that I need.
I'm a big fan of your work. When you came in, the first thing I said is the character, Harvey, Borden, from fighting, right? The way you would speak, the way you would move. But this is the first time we saw you talking about you leaving Hollywood. Rob, if you want to play this clip, go for it.
Terrence Howard here. You made huge headlines when you said after you complete these 15 episodes of Empire, you got to walk away for a while or forever.
For good. I mean, everyone keeps trying to tell me don't say it's forever, but I've spent 37 years pretending to be people so that people can pretend to watch and enjoy what I'm doing when I've made some discoveries in my own personal life with the science that Pythagoras was searching for. I was able to open up the flower of life properly and find the real wave conjugations that we've been looking for 10,000 years. Why would I continue, walking on water for...
Make no mistake, Katt Williams isn't airing dirty laundry for attention. He's tearing the lid off a system that crushes genuine talent like Terrence Howard. Williams even called out Cedric the Entertainer for allegedly stealing one of his jokes on BET's Comic View back in the 90s. A move he says wasn't just theft, but a betrayal of every comedy writer out there. And this isn't some isolated incident. Hollywood thrives on safe bets and fat checks, discarding fresh voices and using clout to silence anyone brave enough to speak up, just like they did with Terrence Howard. Clip to Terrence Howard, known for his raw talent and fearless honesty, just dropped a bombshell on Patrick Bet-David's PBD podcast. He claimed Diddy's parties were far from glamorous. Behind the flashing lights and star-studded guest lists, he says Hollywood elites traded dignity for access. According to Howard, these weren't just wild nights of music and drinking. They were calculated setups designed to humiliate guests and strip them of their power. His revelations peel back the curtain on the disturbing reality hidden behind Hollywood's polished facade.
Physically get up and go and walk 24 in any play. If you ever been in a fight, bro, if you get outside yourself for the moment that you literally about to fight another person, you're not who you are. It just don't happen unless you a brute. Right. Like if you a brute and you walk around thugging people, right, that's you. But most human beings, dog, for me to literally go, I'm gonna walk up and slap shit out. I'm not me right now. I'm outside my normal way of being.
I'm just saying I can't let these dudes lie. Cedric's sitting here telling you why he ain't a movie star. He over here look like a walrus. You didn't say nothing. He can't even get his arms off his stomach sitting over here. Why I'm not a movie star. Never wrote anything. Remember, when Cedric the Entertainer starts, he's supposed to be singing, dancing, and telling jokes. That's why he's called the Entertainer. Right. We found out he can't sing, can't dance, and doesn't write jokes. He did 4 comedy specials. They're so bad, Shannon, they're not available on Netflix or Tubi. Can I say that again for the audience? They're so bad that they're not available on Netflix or Tubi.
You don't think Sam's a good comedian?
The world doesn't think that, sir. I have 12 comedy specials. He has 4 specials that are not available on Netflix or Tubi. Winners are not allowed to allow losers to rewrite history. Cedric told you when you asked him, did you steal Katt Williams' joke? Yeah. He said, it don't line up. He thought that I was just a no-name comedian and that he could take this joke and nobody would know.
He's looking at it like this. If I allow comedians or other comedians to steal my jokes, then what am I? You stealing my material. When they sued Blurred Lines, Robin Thicke and
Marvin Gaye's estate.
We see this quite often. And he's like, do you understand how long you have to tell a joke to refine it? What's the likelihood you go out there in a game, a play that you hadn't practiced?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's only so many comedians. My thinking is we need to keep us all tight and feed off of each other. But to have us going back and forth like this, I think it does us a disservice in that community.
Yeah.
Him and Steve had already apologized for me, so I gave him a pass for a decade. Why would you sit here and be like, I saw Katt 30 times and Katt didn't do, as I stand before you, Shannon, I would have bust Cedric's stomach. There was nothing that would have kept me from one of these in that patch right there. Like, are you kidding me? Why would you downplay me like that?
Iron Man, it says you were the highest paid guy in that movie at $4.5 million, and they only paid Robert Downey Jr. $500,000. Is that accurate?
Maybe. I don't know what they paid him exactly, but they weren't giving him any grace, and, you know, he was phenomenal. He deserved to get higher pay later on. He really did, from the work he did.
Did you guys ever talk about it? Like $500,000 for Robert Downey Jr.?
No, he was just coming in. Remember, after we did the first one and it made $1 billion, they still came to all of us and was like, oh, you know, I know we're supposed to pay you $8 million for the next one, but and we did a 3-picture deal. We're gonna let you come back for $1 million, for 1/8 of what even though we had a success with what we did, we're gonna let you come back for $1 million.
Let you come back.
They did that to all of the actors. Marvel came and did the shakedown on everybody.
Why would they do that, though?
Because
City may have invited Terrence Howard in under the guise of mentorship, but according to Howard, it was a trap. Instead of guidance, he saw a look that said, "I'm here to use you." He claimed that many top producers operate the same way, masking their darkest actions behind fame and fortune. Once you give up your manhood, you never get it back, Howard warned, calling these so-called deals a permanent loss of identity and self-respect.
Took all these things to his house. I thought he would evaluate them. I thought he would send them throughout his friends. And then I watched him go on Piers Morgan and literally say that 99% of everything I said was bathwater, was bullshit. The Howard comma.
He said that afterwards?
Yeah,
or
he
pre
said
you guys
this,
getting on together?
He did this after our talk on Joe Rogan, but before our meeting when I went to his house. So I let that go, him saying that 99% of everything I was doing was bathwater. And then he said, the one thing that might be good is this linchpin. But he got there by a mistake. which I clearly showed that it wasn't a mistake, the 109.47. But he said that everything I did was just by accident. I mean, no. Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me. Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I'm playing the music, and he's sitting there just looking at me, like waiting. Okay. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to fuck you. That's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it. So now no more communication. Now you know to be hands off with somebody. A number of producers come in to make the approach, and you threaten to punch them in the mouth, or threaten to knock their head off for talking to you or looking at you like you're.
Then there's Kevin Hart, whom Katt Williams called out as an industry plant. According to Williams, Hart's meteoric rise wasn't built on raw talent or relentless grind, but on a pre-planned path lined with movie deals and media backing, all before he even set foot in L.A. Katt questioned the legitimacy of Hart's rise, noting that few in Hollywood can recall a sold-out Kevin Hart show during his early days. The message was clear. When success is manufactured instead of earned, it serves a larger agenda, one designed to drown out independent, outspoken voices like Terrence Howard's, voices that threaten the polished illusions of Hollywood's carefully packaged stars.
Money. You got to take drugs. You're going through so much shit to try and deal with life. You are literally, it's an unhealthy space. And so eventually you're going to go too far. Who knows what happened to Philip? Who knows what he had to do in order to get to where he was at? There's a lot of things that people do that end up sitting and they can't get over it. And they got to keep getting high, hoping to get it out of their head. But when you lose your man card, that's the only thing I can think of. You lose your damn man card.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it. A man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back. You come into this world as a man one time. You give up that right for anything, for fear of being hurt, fear of somebody doing something, for wanting to gain something. When you give up that man card right, you lose some spiritual energy that has always been pushing through. Like if a woman gives up her womanly right of being a mother and taking care of her family and do all those things, when you give up those things, but when you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the Puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Got punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there, because they get fluid. And next thing you know, once go fluid, it's gone. They can't get it out of their head. They can't get it out of their head. The things that they did, no matter how they did it, whether they were drunk or high or whatever, you gave up your man card. You need therapy. And that's the thing that hurts them the most. And so they end up on drugs, end up every way to try and get rid of any principles there are. And that's what the business does. And the women that trade their bodies to go and get the role, they get to the point where they have their Oscar, they have their money, but they don't have their dream. They don't have the soul that they started with. So it's like achieving don't mean anything. If I get all the Nobel Prizes from doing all of this, but in the process I have to trade out all of my integrity to do it so that they can stay in place, what benefit is that if I lose my integrity? You got to go in as a principal. And
Steve Harvey didn't escape Katt Williams' fire either. Williams accused Harvey of embodying Hollywood's ruthless playbook, claiming he lifted the core concept of Mark Curry's Hangin' with Mr. Cooper and repackaged it as The Steve Harvey Show. To Katt, this wasn't just creative theft, it was a glaring example of how far some celebrities will go to maintain their status. It's about aligning with the right power players, protecting polished public images, and playing the game, no matter who gets silenced along the way. And in that game, it's the bold, uncompromising voices, like Terrence Howard's, that get buried, while the machine keeps moving without a hiccup. Williams also shared one of his most jaw-dropping personal encounters, an alleged $50 million offer from the infamous Harvey Weinstein. But this wasn't just a business deal. According to Katt, it was a degrading proposal meant to buy his silence and submission. Weinstein, now a symbol of Hollywood's darkest abuses of power, represented more than just one man. It was the system in motion. Williams' outright rejection wasn't about turning down money. It was about preserving dignity and refusing to trade integrity for influence. In doing so, he drew a hard line and exposed a wider industry pattern, where unethical shortcuts and backroom deals are used to silence those brave enough to speak truth to power.
Number one job of somebody that sold their soul in Hollywood is?
What?
Is to act like it didn't happen. They all do the same job. In 15 years in Hollywood, no one in Hollywood has a memory of going to a sold-out Kevin Hart show, there being a line for him ever getting a standing ovation at any comedy club. He already had his deals when he got here. Have we heard of a comedian that came to LA and in his first year in LA, he had his own sitcom on network television and had his own movie called Soul Plane that he was leading? No, we've never heard of that before that person or since that person. What do you think a plant is? Maybe people don't understand the definitions of these words. These people are not powerful. Satan can't create anything. That includes blessings for his people. That's why
Kevin Hart wearing a dress in the SNL skit. And Dave Chappelle spoke about that as a comedian. Black actors are always, being asked to wear dresses. Have you ran into that? And what do you think about that whole Illuminati theory that people put out there about that?
Well, thanks for that softball question. It's two answers. First of all, let's be very, very clear. It is possible that there isn't anything funnier than a guy in a dress. And if that's the case, then it might also be said that there's nothing funnier than a black guy in a dress. Okay, well, I watched all of my friends throughout my entire life be able to dunk a basketball, but not me. So everybody can't do everything.
Kevin Hart to me seems, quote unquote, for everyone, right? You don't have to be from black culture to get what he's doing. Right. But Katt is very much from black culture, right? And I bet his audiences are like 90% black, and we dig the whole pimp vibe, and just even his voice takes us back to like the hood, where Kevin is doing something different. And no disrespect, Kevin's amazing, but he's doing something different, right?
Exactly. They got their own lanes. Katt came into the game, you're correct, with the whole pimp swagger thing. But if you look at Katt in the last 5-8 years, Katt's been doing this to that vibe and that characterization. Now, like the last one was called World War III or something like that. Yeah. So he, in his mind, he's dropping jewels for everybody. Look at what's going on in society. Look at this country. Look at the politics and stuff like that. So he's gotten away from the whole smack a whole tribe.
What comes to mind though when you think back on these days and what was going on in your life? Did you have a gut feeling that this movie was going to be really transformative?
No, check this out. I made $12,000 for doing Hustle and Flow. And then on top of it, what Paramount did, instead of putting my name as Terrence Howard performing the songs, they put performed by DJ. Well, they own DJ. So guess what? The performance royalties went to Paramount. They went,
wait a minute. They didn't go to Terrence Howard. They went to
$12,000. That's all I ever made from Hustle and Flow. Everything else went right back into Paramount. And they've done that with science for so many years. You look at E = MC squared, that talks about expansion. It does not show how it's divided. If ever you've never breathed in twice without breathing out, you breathe in and you breathe out. You charge and you discharge. So how is it that the breathing in, they're acting as if the universe is just expanding out, breathing out, and it's going to dissipate out, and they never include the contractive side of it, breathing in. because they were misled by Newton, who said everything moves in a straight line